What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be talking about Port Adelaide's clash with Carlton for round 2 of the AFL season. In 2019, it was a quite a nerve-wracking kind of game in horrible conditions at the Adelaide Oval, but 41,000 did turn out for a great end result for Port Adelaide, winning by 16 points. So let's get straight into the game and look at the positive and negatives for Port Adelaide in this round 2 review. Bonner.
Slapdash, pitches in the pocket, they have to wait, it's uneasy times. Plowman, Motlop loves a big occasion, he loves it, and they love him!
So quite a few things I did learn over the weekend, and I'll tell you what, it was quite an enticing game really. It was really well played by Carlton. They really stepped up with their own youngsters, especially in the midfield. Obviously Patrick Cripps led the way, but someone like Gibbons, Nick Newman down the back, the recruit from Sydney, as well as Jacob Wiedering, who just every forward Port Adelaide had on him at the stage, he dominated, especially Todd Marshall. Poor Toddy couldn't get a touch really. Jacob Wiedering was just too strong for him. But this key thing I did learn is we don't like the wet. Port Adelaide do not like wet weather footy. You could tell early on, especially, the ground was quite dewy. It wasn't really 100% dry from the rain that happened before the game, and it was quite difficult to get a read on how well we were going. But as the game progressed on, especially in the second quarter, kicking 4 goals to nothing, it really just panned out the way that we would play in dry weather footy. We were quite pacey around the ball. Players like Scott Lysette, Tom Rockcliffe, Travis Boak were all around the footy and using it really well, along with the youngsters as well. So that second quarter was really a real showcase of what we can produce, especially when we get a roll on. The third quarter, well, at half-time the rain decided to absolutely piss down, and in the end it became a scrappy affair, which Carlton did come back in, and they got in front at one stage as well, which was quite a nerve-wracking time, especially considering, we were 4 goals up, and all of a sudden they get up by 5 points late in the third quarter before a Zach Butler's goal settled the nerves a bit, and I think that reassured the Port players that, this is their game now. They're in control. They were dominating every stat on the score sheet. Uncontested possessions, they won by 92. Dominating inside 50s. Disposals, they absolutely smashed Carlton as well, and in the end, for the scoreboard probably didn't reflect, the stats. But in saying that, Carlton's endeavour, their enthusiasm around the footy, and their direct play is what kept them in the game. And full credit to Carlton. I really think they will be a very hard side to roll over this year. And I think they'll give quite a few teams a run for their money, and they might pick a couple of teams that you might not think they'll beat off. So credit to them. Definitely, if you're a Carlton supporter, you should be very proud of the way your team played. And I reckon if that was at the MCG or at Marvel Stadium, they would have run over the top of us, I reckon. Now, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the ex-skipper, Travis Boak. As you can tell, he's in fine form at the moment, and I'm in fine form wearing my Cream of the Crop clothing t-shirt of Boakey. Wow, he's in fine form, isn't he? Just puts a smile on my face to see that number 10 on the back of the Port Adelaide Guernsey getting so many possessions. He had another 33 on the weekend, backing up his 34 from last week, and it's like he's reborn. That's his position, in the midfield, dominating the footy, getting the possession, setting up the play. And look, there was a very good article put out after the game that talked about Travis Boak, and in particular one line was, we still think of him as the captain. He should be wearing number 1, whether he's captain or not, because he's just that cult figure now in the team. He's a warrior. He's an absolute superstar when he's on, and to have another 33 disposals and showcase how good he is in the midfield, along with Tom Rockcliffe too, the pig. Oh my God! They are the dynamic duo of our midfield now. Forget Ollie Wines, forget Sam Powell-Pepper, Travis Boak and Tom Rockcliffe. 2 absolute guns in the midfield, and they're dominating at the moment. First 2 games, they had a combined total of 70 possessions on the weekend, backed up from 78 last week. And you know what? If those types of numbers keep on pumping out, then look out. will get more opportunities than you think if those two continue to play the way they played. Particularly, I'd like to mention Scott Lysette. Best game he's played for Port Adelaide. I know he's only played 2, but besides the fact he had 25 disposals and 34 hitouts and kicked his first goal for Port Adelaide in their colours. So, Scotty, I didn't know what to expect when he came into this year. And at the moment, I'm loving him in the ruck. He's freed up Paddy Ryder. Obviously, Paddy hasn't hit the scoreboard as yet, and I reckon he's just struggling a little bit with the helmet, and he's trying to get in the game, but he can't at the moment. And yeah, he's just trying to find his feet a bit more, Paddy, and that's understood. He's used to being a predominant ruckman, but he'll come good eventually. But Scott Lysette's thriving in the middle. He's absolutely loving it, so good on him. And I hope he continues this form, because that's what we picked him up for, and yeah, he's definitely showing why he's a premiership ruckman. Even though Carlton got a really good run on early, kicking 5 goals in the first quarter, we did only keep them to 72 points for the game. And I think the players like Tom Jonas, Tom Cleary and Dan Houston in particular really stood up. They just held that defence together. Before, unfortunately, Jack Watts going down, which I'll touch on in a minute, we certainly were able to stop Carlton's transition of the footy and essentially retransition that back down our end, and especially in the second half, we sort of dominated territory a bit more, and we certainly kept the game on our terms. Even though Carlton, every time they got an opportunity, they went on and kicked a goal. I'm in love with the kids, Port fans. I'm absolutely in love with them. There's no other way to describe it. Dursma, Butters, Rosie, and Drew are performing brilliantly in our side at the moment. The first 2 games, I've never seen a crop of great youngsters in their first games of footy, especially the 3 of them that are in their first year. The way they are playing and handling the pressure, Butters is electrifying. In the wet, that pick-up, no-look hand pass to Drew, who then spotted Dursma in the middle, who then banged it along to Motlop, player of the day for mine. And you know what? That's what we want. That's the type of footy we've been asking for 2-3 years now. And with those youngsters, they are rejuvenating our side. They've rejuvenated the whole playing group, and it's showing on field. Sure, it might not always pay off. We'll have our ups and downs. Our form line will go up and down. Doesn't matter. With those 3-4 players, our future is very much bright, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can perform next week in Brisbane. Just a couple more things before I get into the votes. Unfortunately for Jack Watts, season looks to be over with a broken fibula and a dislocated ankle, all in the one incident. I feel very bad for Jack, especially after his fantastic first game of footy in Melbourne for round 1. I really feel that now he's back on the back foot again, and he was looking to set up what was going to be a fantastic season for himself. And yeah, unfortunately, the bad karma, I guess. But the poor bloke, he hopefully gets back for the end of the year. But it's just unfortunate. And Carl Amon with a knee injury, the bloke can't catch a break either. Every time he starts to look pretty good in Port Adelaide colours, he ends up injuring himself. So hopefully he's not too serious with a medial strain, and he's back in there in no time. The other thing I wanted to touch on is a little bit more positive, is the great crowd of 41,000 there. It was horrid conditions all day. It was cold, it was wet. And the time slot, I know a lot of teams would have had, a lot of people would have had, junior games of footy or other prior commitments. And I think the time slot, a lot of Port fans do like and don't like. But in saying that, definitely a great crowd of 41k, especially, the circumstances it was in. And for Justin Westhoff to finally get a win in a milestone game. He's the godfather of Port Adelaide, and he didn't have the best of days, mind you. But in saying that, he was definitely a great contributor, and it was good to get the win for him in front of his home crowd and his 250th. On to the votes, and look, to be honest, it was hard to pick and choose. There's a lot of honourable mentions, I'd like to say. Xavier Dursma, best game of footy I've seen from a youngster this year. That betters Zach Butters' first game, I will say. 9 marks, he was running, he filled in Polek's role, basically. That's what he was playing on the weekend, and it was certainly terrific to watch. Definitely another one I'd like to mention as well is Brad Ebert. He was certainly fantastic. 23 disposals and 3 goals. He's playing that forward role. Very much how I saw it panning out when I brought up the role last year, and I reckon he's pulling it off very well. And yeah, so there are the honourable mentions. But to the votes, 1 vote, Tom Rockcliffe, 37 touches. The pig was phenomenal once again. It didn't have as much influence on the game in the second half, and I really feel like, you know, there was a couple of players that just stood out a bit more for him. 2 votes to my man Travis Boak. I'm pretty sure it was 6 tackles and 9 marks. 33 disposals, and he looked free. He looked phenomenal. 70% disposal efficiency as well, which is about standard for him. So definitely a big credit to Travis, and I reckon he's building. He's building. 3 votes goes to Scott Lysette. Best game of footy he's played since the grand final, so about 3 or 4 games ago. But nonetheless, he's certainly filled in that role perfectly at Port Adelaide at the moment. And 25 disposals and 34 hitouts for a ruckman. And a goal. That's a solid day out. And he definitely influenced the contest. And how about his movement? God, he moves so well for a big fella. I'm tall, but I can't move. Like, my knees are shot. So, credit to you, Scotty. Well done, mate. Thank you so much for watching, Port fans. I really appreciate all the support. 2 wins after 2 games now for Port Adelaide in the top 4. It's a pretty side at the moment, but unfortunately it might come to an end if we don't perform really well against Brisbane this week. I've got the vlog coming out tomorrow night, and I've got the preview coming out Wednesday night. So a big week for the channel, big week for Port Adelaide, so I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching, Port fans. My name is Anthony, and as always, come the pair.